We're live?
Yes.
We're live!
How about that, Corbin? We're only about 40 minutes late.
Only about 40 minutes late.
At this point.
I'm so sorry, everybody. We had some internet issues here in the office and just could not connect. But I believe that we've resolved it.
Right.
Thanks to our smart technical team.
In fact, I had done left.
Yeah, I had to run and as fast as I could grab Mike and bring him back. He was off to do other things. So thank you for joining us today. And again, I am so sorry that we are running late. And I hope everybody's having an awesome Friday.
Absolutely, and we hope that you're going to have a great weekend.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Mike, we had an interesting day yesterday.
Yes, we did. We got to go out to a very nice farm.
Absolutely, it was beautiful.
Just south of here.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to visit with Charlotte.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she just had a nice paint mare that had just dropped a foal.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was born, I guess, a week ago today.
A week ago.
Right.
In fact, it would have been a week ago today.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a nice, stout, very healthy foal.
Strong foal.
Absolutely. And she said within 30 minutes after it foaled, it was up and nursing mama.
Oh, man.
So very good.
Well, I was definitely very impressed with the foal and with the mare and with the farm.
Right.
It was a beautiful setup. Now, the mare is actually on barn bag, Ferris Formula Double Strength, and laminate form.
Right, all three. In fact, she had a laminated bout back earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with nutrition is highly important in the recovery and the regrowth of those feet there as well. And of course, nutrition is very important as far as the development of that foal inside that mare during the gestation period.
Absolutely.
In fact, it was quite evident when we actually visually seen the foal.
I actually dropped the picture on Facebook and on Instagram. So if you guys want to take a look at that mare and foal, those pictures are available. I tried to get a good picture of the foal, but he enjoyed hiding from my camera.
Right.
so that didn't happen.
And Mom was a little protective.
Yes, and Mom was a little protective. That's right. Again, everybody, thank you for joining us, and we're so sorry about the delay. Hopefully, if we drop again, hopefully we don't, but if we do, just stay with us, and we're gonna dive into this. So today we're going to talk about the horse and summer. Right. How summer affects the horse.
Right.
We've got giveaways. So it's definitely going to be worth the wait. And in the meantime, I see a couple people have been dropping where they're from. So let us know where you're from. What problems are you currently dealing with with this new kind of hotter, warmer, dry weather? What problems are you facing? Of course, we are laid back during this, so feel free to drop comments in at any time. If you have any questions for Mike, let him know, and I will read them to him, and so he can answer them. Unfortunately, I can't answer them, but I can ask them. So please feel free to do that. I'm seeing some North Carolina, some Ohio, from Texas. So we definitely have a wide range of people here.
We do.
Well, earlier this week, Mike, I posted to Facebook and asked everyone. I said, well, what problems are you currently facing?
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of dry hoofs.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of itchy skin.
Okay.
We had a lot of people just saying that they're having little problems just allowing the horse to, get used to that warmer weather.
Right. Okay.
When we talk about summer, a lot of times we don't think about some of the issues that can arise.
Right. In fact, we've gone from some cold and wet to extremely hot and dry. And all that takes a toll not only on the foot of the horse, but actually the horse itself.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's many ways that we can go with this presentation, Corbin. In fact, we don't have enough time to cover all the areas where the horse is going to be affected. So what I have done is I have selected 3 or 4 different items that we'd like to talk about this afternoon. And if you want to lead me in a different direction, well, please do that. Well,
Right.
if you have a question and you want to go a different way, well, we'll go that different way as well.
If you don't like what Mike's talking
Right.
about, let us
We'll
know.
change it altogether. Right. Right.
Before we just really dive in, do you want to talk about some of these giveaways that we have?
Yeah, I think we need to do that because we're going to ask some questions here in just a few minutes.
All right. Well, first off, so since you're watching us live, we've got 3 giveaways that we're going to give away to those who are watching it live. So if you watched before, you probably know the spill, but we've got the hat, t-shirt, a bottle of the Farrier's Finish, hoof clay, and then new to the, I can't remember if we had this one last time or not, but we're going to be switching from the Breeder's Formula to the Compose.
Right.
Of course, right now we're getting close to the 4th of July.
Fireworks.
It means fireworks.
Right.
Of course, there's going to be a lot of people doing parades. Maybe they're taking their horses on vacation and maybe putting them into the trailer. So Compose is our calming supplement. So it's going to be really great if you've got that nervous horse who maybe doesn't like to be in the trailer, who possibly doesn't like the fireworks. Maybe you've got a neighbor who likes to put on a giant show, and you don't appreciate that, but neither does your horse. So this Compose is a great calming supplement. It's not a tranquilizer. It's not
It's
all natural.
Right.
So this is a great giveaway, especially for this time of the year. So 3 people win 3 of these. So this is a package, and we'll give away 3 of those. What we'll do is Mike has questions. We'll ask them. You pop it in the comments, and then we'll give it basically a 2-minute. And then our director here in the back will randomly select one of the winners.
That's right. And then we will ship that to you.
We will ship it to you completely free. Again, don't ever respond to any messages asking for credit cards or anything like that, because that is not us. And then on top of that, we have our grand prize giveaway, right? So grand prize giveaway is available to basically anyone in the U.S. During this event. So if you're watching this Saturday, you can still win the grand prize giveaway. We're going to have 3 winners there. And if you look to my right, you can see which those grand prize winners can win. So we're going to give away 1 bag of the Farrier's Formula Double Strength, 1 bag of the Farrier's Formula DS Plus Joint, and then the last bag is one of our new specialty products, which is the Life Data Sweat Formula, which is really great if you have a horse with anhidrosis who has problems sweating. This has been really great for a lot of those horses, especially the performance horses who need to readily sweat.
Absolutely. And if they can't sweat, then they're very limited as to the performance of the horse itself.
Absolutely.
And actually can be very detrimental to the health of the horse if the horse actually gets too hot in the process. So, right.
Yep. And if you look down below, there should be a green bar scrolling there at the bottom. You'll see that link to the grand prize giveaway. It's a lifedata.live/win. So just pop that into your URL and enter in the contest. And we'll talk a little bit more about the grand prize contest, how you can get some extra entries and so on later on. Sure. I know everyone's been waiting a long time, so let's just dive into this.
Okay, absolutely, Corbin. And one of the areas that's affected as far as the hot and the dry when it comes to the horse is the foot of the horse. Okay? And of course, we know that during the winter months, when we have all of that excess moisture, that makes the foot want to expand. It softens the hoof wall. It softens the sole of the foot in the process. And a lot of times we end up with some wall separation due to that excess moisture. And that foot is also prone to another problem, and that's thrush, which we're all familiar with as well. But during the summer months, we don't have that excess moisture, depending on the part of the region that you're in the U.S. itself.
Well, I can tell you right now, I've got a lot of people here saying dry hoofs,
okay,
and saying hot, humid weather. Right. I mean, we've got it. So
in fact, I actually made my first trade show this past weekend in the Sacramento area, and that area is extremely dry. And what that dry conditions are doing to that hoof capsule is it wants to cause that hoof capsule to contract. It wants to go the opposite direction from when it's wet. So in that contraction process, it wants to crack, it wants to chip, and that's very detrimental to the foot of the horse.
Absolutely.
And anytime we got a crack or a chip, either in the hoof wall, or if we got some very minor cracking even in the sole of the foot there, that becomes an entry point for bacteria to get inside the hoof capsule and possibly start an episode that we don't want to deal with, and that's an abscess in itself, okay? So here at Life Data, we have an excellent product called Farrier's Finish, and it's a liquid product, and it is a very mild, it's a non-caustic type product that we can use on the entire foot of the horse. And what I personally like to do myself is I like to have a secondary container. And of course, if you make a purchase of the Farrier's Finish, it's going to come with a brush itself. And then we're going to actually pick up the foot of the horse. We're going to pick out on either side of the frog. We're going to brush that off. And then we can actually take our brush and we're going to come in here and we're going to cover the entire bottom of the foot with this particular liquid product here. After we get the sole done, then we're going to let the foot drop. That's the easiest way to do it. And then we're going to cover everything from the coronary band down, the entire hoof wall itself there. And what that's going to do is it's going to help regulate the moisture within that hoof capsule, and that's going to help keep that hoof wall pliable, supple, manageable, and it's going to prevent that cracking and chipping. Okay?
Absolutely.
So, and not only is it going to do that, but it's also going to fight off any bacteria or presence that would want to work on the foot itself. So during the dry months, we got this contraction here that's going on.
Now, Mike, this is something that you may be planning on getting into, but I know when we talk about this dry weather, a lot of people, they want to, soak the horse's hoofs in water or extra bathing for the horse to cool it down, and so on. But a lot of times that wet to dry can even further this problem.
That's right. In fact, the changes like that is very detrimental to hoof quality itself. So we want to maintain a norm, if we want to call it that, as far as the moisture within that hoof capsule. And that's what this liquid product, Farrier's Finish, is going to do. It's going to help maintain that normal situation that we need.
So if you're wanting to relieve that dry hoof, you really need something that's going to help those phospholipids, right?
Right.
And help control that moisture balance. And if you would like to learn more about the Farrier's Finish, of course, you can go to our website. It's actually lifedata.live/finish. If you want to learn about that, you can look at some testimonials and some more videos. Actually, we posted a video in the discussion earlier this week with Farrier Vance Myers, friend of Life Data. There for a while. He was in Arizona dealing with 115-degree weather, and I know this was one of his favorite products.
Sure.
to help those folks that he was dealing with.
Sure, absolutely right. And I think it would be good for our first question at this point in time, Corbin.
Okay, you want to do a question?
Let's do a question.
Okay, again, guys, if you guys want to get ready to answer this question, the winner of this will win this little prize pack of the Finish, which we just got done talking about, the hoof clay, which is great for cracks, hat, t-shirt, and one of these composes. Again, unfortunately, due to international giveaway laws, these giveaways are only for those in the United States. But for you international people, the Finish and clay should be available in your area.
And Corbin, Will, can we go ahead and put up slide number 1 without interfering with what we're doing as far as the question itself? And slide number 1 is a good example of a extremely dry hoof with a major quarter crack there that's actually came about. And of course, this is an extreme case here altogether.
Absolutely.
A lot of times the cracking may be toward the end of the toe there, where we've got some minor chipping going on, and sometimes the cracking may be more superficial and not get into the sensitive tissue like we see in this particular slide here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, Mike, I've got my timer set for
Okay.
2 minutes. So you guys have 2 minutes to answer the question,
And the question number one is, do dry hooves want to contract or do they want to expand?
all right, timer set. You have 2 minutes to answer the question, and then of course whoever gets it correctly, we're going to look at all the correct answers and randomly choose a winner.
Once again, do dry hooves want to contract or do they expand during dry conditions?
All right.
Okay.
All right. So we got a few people, of course, going and answering this question now. Now, Mike, of course, we recently just got done talking about hoof cracks in one of our previous live events, which you guys can go back and watch underneath our videos, and we go into a little bit more detail of the dry cracks. So when we talk about cracks, and then of course these dry hoofs in the summer, do you feel like the bacteria is something that people need to worry about more, or the structure of the hoof, or just a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both. If we wanted to lean one way or another, I think it would be the structure of the hoof capsule, the hoof wall itself. And of course, secondary would be our bacterial and fungal issues that would want to invade this particular dry hoof at that point.
I guess if you think about it, if you wouldn't want to sit in a chair that had a broken leg, right, or a cracked leg,
right.
So just overall, it's just not good.
Sure.
All right, we've got about 30 seconds left.
Okay.
So make sure you're getting those, getting your entries in. And also, in the meantime, just while we're waiting on you guys, don't forget to like the video and share it. Of course, that helps us get the word out. But then again, it also it's educational. So we want to make sure that as many people are getting to watch this as possible. So if you guys don't mind, just make sure to hit that share button at any point during this video. And again, we also have our grand prize giveaway that you can see scrolling at the bottom for U.S. People with U.S. shipping addresses.
Okay, our time is up.
Time is up.
And do we have a winner?
Let me check with Will here.
We do have a winner.
Okay, he's got a winner.
The winner is Sarah Rebecca.
Sarah Rebecca, you are the winner. Congratulations. Of course, the answer is the hoofs want to contract.
Absolutely.
So I think that's all I saw was contract. I think unless everybody got it correctly. So congratulations. You can email cservice@lifedatalabs.com. We'll need your shipping address and your T-shirt size. And as far as T-shirts, we have the teal and the pink. We've got the green. I think we have a yellow and green as well.
We also have a yellow T-shirt.
If you happen, just let us know what color shirt that you would like as well. So we've actually got 2 more of these. So if you didn't win this time, just stay tuned and maybe you can win one of the next ones.
Absolutely. And one other product too, Corbin, that I'd like to mention when it comes to cracks, and that's our Life Data Hoof Clamp.
Absolutely.
In fact, this is a rather unique product in itself in that it's a very soft, pliable product. It's a very mild product. It has some tea tree oil, some tang iodine, and yucca in it. And this can also be pushed into those cracks as well during the dry season.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do have a crack like that, we can actually fill that crack with the clay. In fact, the clay is for specific problems either within the hook wall or the sole itself. And I'd also like to mention that it's an excellent product for thrush as well. It's an excellent product for your farrier to use underneath the shoe if you've got some white line problems, some separation, some bacterial invasion that's going on there. But any cracks or chips, the clay can be pushed into that area, and then after we get those specific problem areas taken care of with the clay, then we can follow up with the finish, meaning we can use both products at the same time then. Okay?
So really in that situation, the finish is there for the dry hoof to bring the moisture there, and then the hoof clay is there to protect the cracks from bacteria and other invasions that may occur.
Right, it's going to keep anything unwanted from entering the crack, and plus it's going to hold the active ingredients in place to fight off any bacteria that would be present there.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, at any point during this presentation, feel free to drop any questions you might have for Mike, and he can answer them as we go.
Okay, Mr. Will, how about slide number 2, please, sir? And if you look closely here, you will see some things toward the bottom of that foot there.
All right.
And summer brings on this particular problem for the horse as well, and that's insects.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And when we think about insects, we're talking about, what's the first thing you think about?
Oh, I'm looking at flies.
Flies.
I'm going to say flies.
All right. The first thing we think about is flies. Do most horses like flies?
Oh, no.
No, because they bite, and they actually can, in great numbers, they want to actually suck the blood from the horse itself, okay? And of course, that's what those flies are doing on toward the bottom of this leg here. They're actually, in fact, if you look very closely, you probably can actually see some blood spots from around these flies themselves. But as far as insects, we're talking about flies, we're talking about gnats, we're talking about mosquitoes. And you might ask, well, what's the issue with mosquitoes? Mosquitoes will transfer so many diseases to a horse that we have to keep our horses vaccinated to prevent the problem that mosquitoes are going to spread from one horse to another horse that's unvaccinated.
Absolutely.
Bot flies, I think all of you are familiar with those. This particular fly wants to lay its eggs on the legs of the horse itself. Don't think about it, but lice can become a major problem when we talk about insects. Ticks, mites, and we don't think about this particular insect as well, but a blister beetle.
Oh, wow.
And you might ask, well, why am I bringing up a blister beetle? And the reason is this, that a blister beetle can be very common in alfalfa hay. And it only takes about one blister beetle to be ingested by the horse, and it becomes very deadly or toxic to the horse at that point in time. So we need to be aware, if we're feeding alfalfa hay, that we don't have this striped blister beetle that's in the hay itself. And then when we talk about the different types of flies, of course the most common is going to be the house fly. That's going to be around the barn, that'll want to get on the horse itself. We also have a face fly, and of course, as the name implies, it's going to love the eyes of the horse, the mouth of the horse, the muzzle of the horse. We also have a stable fly, and of course, the stable fly, its fondest part of the horse is the leg there. And that's what we were looking at earlier in this particular slide, would be stable flies. And then two of our larger flies that really do harm to a horse is either going to be a horse fly or a deer fly, either one. They're very similar. The horse fly tends to be just a little bit larger than the deer fly itself. And one interesting thing about the horse fly is that I'll ask you this question. You have a 50-50 chance of getting this right.
Well, I'll probably get it wrong.
Okay. Is it the male or the female that will ingest blood from the horse? Which one bites the horse? The male or the female? Which one do you think?
I would say the female.
It is the female.
Hey!
Okay. It's the female horsefly is the one that does the damage, that will actually chase a horse around to try to attach to the horse. And actually suck blood from the horse itself. And then the last fly that I mentioned is a horn fly, which is a very small fly. The very favorite part of the horse is going to be the back, the shoulders, and the sides of the horse. And they just like to congregate in mass, if you've ever seen those there.
Will this be a good point to take a pause and answer a few questions?
Absolutely. Okay.
All right. So we actually have had two people ask a little bit more about the farrier's finish.
Okay.
So Melissa would like to know, would you use it daily? And then Diane would like to know, would you use the clay first, the fill in the crack, and then apply the finish? In which order would you do that?
Okay. We're going to apply the clay first.
Okay.
And we're going to apply that in the specific problem areas that we might have. And if it's a crack, we use the clay first in the crack, and then we finish the foot off with the farrier's finish at that point.
Absolutely.
The entire foot, the sole, and the entire hook wall.
It's non-caustic, so you can put it anywhere.
Right. And you might, and someone asks, how often do you do that there? With the clay, most of the time you're going to have enough residual left for about 3 to 4 days, especially in dry conditions, okay? And then we can come back and do another application. Now with the finish, we would want to use it a little more frequently under extreme dry conditions. And I would like to use it at least 3 to 4 times per week in extreme dry and also in extreme wet conditions. And if everything is what we call normal, 1 to 2 times a week as a preventative measure would be great. Okay.
So right now, a lot of you who are having problems with this heat, you're looking probably every other day.
Sure, right? Something like that would be wonderful as far as the finish itself. Right.
Right. Okay. Rhonda would like to know: can the clay be applied to a puncture wound caused by a nail? The foot is recovering currently. The wound is 3 weeks old today. He's wearing a shoe with a medical plate. Have been advised to apply iodine solution to the front 2 times a day. I was thinking the clay might offer a longer solution to support the healing process.
Okay, if you got a hospital plate on the bottom of the foot, then that tells us that the bottom of the foot is covered up. So we actually shouldn't be able to get any foreign debris up into the puncture wound itself. Now, we always advise folks when you use clay in a situation like that to be sure that the wound has completely stopped draining. In fact, we want that to take place first. And if it has completely stopped draining, then yes, it would be safe to use the clay at that point. And that's true for an abscess as well. So if you have an abscess that ruptures, say out the sole of the foot, then we want that exit wound to completely quit draining, and then at that point we can start using the clay. Okay.
And you know, that would be, you know, we talked about the iodine solution. You know, there is some tamed iodine in the clay, so that would help basically fight off any of that bacteria that could come there and stay in place and do that.
And we hope that nail puncture didn't get into the coffin bone or anything like that. So be very mindful of that. Of course, I'm assuming that you probably had some x-rays made, more than likely, before the nail was extracted from the foot itself. So,
absolutely. Okay.
Anything else?
I believe that's it at the moment. But again, if you have any questions, drop it in the comments, and we'll try to tackle it.
Okay. And as we continue to talk about insects, we mentioned a bunch of different insects. We talked about a bunch of different flies there. And I'd like to mention some things that you can do as a horse owner to help reduce your fly population. Okay? And one of the things that we can do is we need to manage our manure.
That makes sense.
We need to clean stalls. Okay? And we need to actually scatter that manure that's out in our paddocks or pick it up, either one. If we've got small paddocks, it would be better if we actually picked it up, threw that into a compost pile then, whatever. Something else that we can do is we need to control moisture. Even in dry conditions, we need to control moisture. In fact, we could have excess moisture in our bedding, in our stalls, if we don't do a good job in cleaning those on a daily basis. We could have excess moisture around our watering tubs or whatever. And of course, there's a couple of things that's going to come into play with that excess moisture. If it's in our stalls, and it could be coming from the urine that the horse is secreting there. And we know if we have an excessive buildup of that, then that's very detrimental to the bottom or the sole of the foot. So, if we're using Farrier's Finish, that's going to help the sole of the foot in the fact that it has some yucca extract in it. And that yucca extract is going to bind up, tie up the ammonia that's in the urine to keep that away from the bottom of the foot. Another problem with excess moisture or puddling or pools of water during the summer months is the old mosquito. And of course, we mentioned that insect earlier and the different diseases that's carried by the mosquito itself, okay? Sanitation, we need to keep our feed pails clean, our tack room cleaned up. Any spills we need to pick up and clean up as well to help suppress the fly population. And then there's some natural defenses that we can do as well to help suppress the population itself. And of course, one of the things when we talk about flies and insects is going to be skin sensitivity, especially to the horse. And we have a lot of horses that will end up with these whelps, these bumps, essentially all over their bodies, and that's simply because they are having an allergic reaction to that insect bite itself. Something else that we can do to help suppress the fly population around our barn is fly predators. Basically, that's a parasitic type fly that we can turn loose that's available through different companies. It actually will go in and take over or kill the harmful flies that we're talking about, and they pose no threat to us as humans and no threat to the horse as well. Of course, we have traps that can be used to catch these particular flies, and then something else that we can do, there's a host of different fly sprays, fly masks, fly sheets that can be put on the horse to keep that horse more comfortable as well. All right? And I think we're ready for question number 2.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, guys, this is question number 2. Again, this is to qualify, you need to have a U.S. shipping address. Unfortunately, due to international giveaway laws, but answer the question correctly. We'll give you guys 2 minutes to answer it, and we'll choose one of the winners randomly, and you guys will be competing for this little setup right here.
Right.
Number 2.
Question number 2 is, what is the most common fly found around horses?
Most common fly
The most
found
common
around...
fly found around horses.
Okay, timer is set. You have 2 minutes to
Okay.
answer the question. And while we're waiting, we actually had someone ask about how long do I notice if a dog stops itching with the breeder's formula.
It depends on the dog itself. Sometimes it's within a 2 to 3 week period. It can be that quick. Okay.
It can take a little bit longer,
And so-
depending on the problem.
And what I have experienced, the bigger the dog, the longer it's going to take. Okay? But a small dog, some of them 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to see some great benefits from the breeder's formula itself.
And it takes a little while for those nutrients to build up and
Sure.
and
to get into the system of the dog. And what breeder's formula is going to do is going to improve the overall health and quality of the skin. Hair coat as well. So we're going to end up with a nice shiny hair coat, soft hair coat, and breeder's formula, like Farrier's formula, is going to protect one aspect of the joint of the dog, the dermal side there.
Absolutely.
Cartilage and tendon and ligament as well. And of course, we want to feed breeder's formula by the weight of the dog. So many teaspoons per day of that particular product.
Absolutely. Well, we've got about 40 seconds here. But as we talked about the flies and everything, also, I guess, takes me back to the hoof crack. Another issue with those flies, a lot of times those horses are going to, beat the ground trying to get the flies away, which is going to weaken the hoof, cause those even more cracks.
Right. In fact, we end up with a lot of cracks and splits simply from the stomping that horse is doing. And some horses are very sensitive to flies. And I don't know exactly what causes that particular situation. I have a guess that I could make. But I think if you have a thin-skinned horse, that horse is going to be more sensitive to flies and to insects. Also, if you have a horse that has thin hoof walls, I think there might be a correlation there in skin as well.
Mm.
And one of the breeds that comes to mind would be a thoroughbred.
Mm.
I personally have a thoroughbred myself, and she cannot stand a single fly to land on her.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. Well, we've ran up our 2 minutes. So I see several answers here. Let's see if Mr. Will's got a winner.
Yeah. The winner is Kim Yonk.
Kim Yonk.
Okay. Congratulations, Kim.
Congratulations, Kim. You'll email cservice@lifedatalabs.com. In that subject line, you can just put live giveaway winner. You're going to, of course, win this little prize pack. We will need your shipping address. We will need your t-shirt size. And then if you would like to pick which color t-shirt, we've got the green, we've got a teal, and then we have a yellow, which I do not have on me to show you. But so just put that, just put what you need in that email and send it to us. And now for the answer to the question is a housefly.
Yeah, a housefly of all things. Okay. Mr. Will, if you'll take a look at slide number 3, please. Okay, we have a cow horse there, what I call a working horse, and more than likely that horse is on a ranch somewhere, probably out west working cattle, and that horse is going to do that all day long. And what about number 4? Slide number 4. All right, we have another active horse there, the barrel horse. Of course, we have race horses, we have hunters, we have jumpers, and the list goes on and on. In other words, I'm talking about a performance horse.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mike, let me pause you real quick
Okay.
before we go into this next one, because we're going back to the flies on this one. Melissa would like to know your thoughts on feeding garlic for flies.
A lot of horse owners will do that. We call that a feed-through program. I've never personally done it myself. I've talked to a lot of horse owners that do and say that it will do a good job. Obviously, that gets into the system of the horse and makes its way to the skin of the horse. And I guess we have enough smell or odor or whatever it is that flies don't like. So, yeah.
I guess if it works for you, then
Sure. It works,
yeah.
right. And obviously it's safe to be given to the horse as well. Sure, right. Anything else? While we're stopped?
Tammy wants to know about the Farrier's Formula Double Strength and large buckets. I know we have got those in the 11 pound. Do we have those in the 4? I know we have the regular Farrier's Formula in the 44.
The only size of double strength that we have, or if you're in an international country, we call that concentrate.
Double concentrate.
It's going to be an 11-pound bag
Mm-hmm.
or in an 11-pound pail.
Mm-hmm.
That's as large as it comes there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we do have the Farrier's Formula in a bigger pail.
Right. The original Farrier's Formula would come in a 44-pound pail still. And that large 44-pound pail would be a 4-month supply for a 1,000-pound horse. Where if we're talking about the double strength in the vacuum seal bag here, we're looking at a 2-month supply. So if you do the math on that, it only takes 2 of these green bags to be 4 months. And then we have the large 44-pound pail, 4 months. But there's a huge difference in price.
Mm.
That 44-pound pail retails for somewhere in the neighborhood of $250.
Mm.
Whereas 2 of the green bags, the suggested retail is going to be $140. So same feeding months as far as the time, but there's quite a significance as far as savings.
And I do know we do have some people who will get some larger buckets and then they'll just dump the bag into those larger buckets.
And you could do that, sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you
Anything
like to
else? Okay.
That's it at the moment.
Okay. So what I'd like to talk about now, of course, during the summer months, we are dealing with extremely hot temperatures and high humidity.
Absolutely.
Those two there.
Mm-hmm.
And we showed you some slides of what I call performance horses, working horses, whatever you want to call them. And during these hot, dry, humid conditions, in order for that horse to perform, it has to have the ability to sweat in order to cool itself, in order to keep that horse from overheating, number one, okay? And so we have a small percentage of our horse population today, and that's somewhere between 2 and 6% that will not have the ability to sweat, or doesn't sweat in a normal or enough to keep itself cool, or it may only sweat underneath the mane or underneath the saddle pad, but that horse wants to run hot then. Okay, all right. And so let's talk about that. What causes the horse to sweat? Number one, of course, it's
trying to cool itself.
It's trying to cool itself, and that's caused by the heat. It's caused by humidity, and it's also caused, number one, from the work or the exercise that it's doing. So when we first start working the horse, the first thing that wants to heat up internally is muscle. And of course, one of the means of cooling itself in that early stage of work is the blood supply of the horse. You have vessels, arteries, veins within the muscle itself. A lot of those will make their way to the surface of the skin, these small capillaries there. And as the blood heats up internally within the muscle, and as this blood reaches the surface of the skin there, it's actually able to cool itself. That it's right under the skin level itself. There's a change in temperature here versus internally, and it helps to cool that. Now, if we continue to work that horse, then that horse, through the aid of sweat glands, will start sweating at that point in time. Okay? Now, what causes a horse not to sweat? To be quite honest with you, we don't know for sure. But there's something that has gone awry somewhere in the horse. There's been some speculation that it could be genetics. And one of the research papers that I've read on that is that if we had a horse that was a non-sweater, the chances of it passing on an offspring that had the problem was somewhere in the neighborhood of 22%. So genetics could come into play there. Of course, the sweat gland is actually encompassed within the skin of the horse. Not only do we have the sweat gland, we have an oil gland, we have a hair follicle as well. And all of those require massive amounts of nutrients to do and to perform like they're supposed to do. And so, if a horse overheats, and once the body temperature of a horse reaches, say, around 104 degrees internally, we're in heat stress at that point in time, and we need to think about trying to cool that horse down. And if that horse ever gets up to, say, somewhere around 107, 108 degrees internally, then we're going to end up with some organ failure at that point in time. In fact, one of the first areas of the horse that's going to be affected in extreme heat conditions like that at that particular temperature is going to be the brain of the horse as well. And of course, we're subject to what we call a heat stroke at that point in time. So what we have done here at Life Data Labs is that we have taken blood samples from a multitude of horses that had problems sweating. And from that blood work and that blood analysis, there were certain deficiencies that were determined nutritionally in that group of horses there. And so what we've done here at Life Data Labs to help that particular group of horses is that we have a new specialty product that's called Sweat, our sweat formulation. And we've gotten some very good success out of horses that have been fed this product, those that were non-sweaters or those that didn't have the ability to sweat properly. And this is a supplement that's fed daily to that particular horse. We're going to feed 1 cup per day.
Mhm.
And this will end up being a 30-day supply for that horse itself. Now, you might ask, well, how long do I have to feed it? It depends on the horse and the severity of the problem itself. Sometimes it may take up 5 to 6 weeks to restart that sweat process in the horse itself.
Mhm.
Some horses respond much quicker than that, Corbin. So
That's extremely important, as you said, for that horse that's working, for these performance horses, and just prolonging the activity of that horse.
right.
Especially when we're talking about endurance or even just
Mhm.
the livelihood career of that horse. If that horse stops sweating, that career is over.
Absolutely. Or we run the problems with heat stress and heat stroke, and then a horse is certainly over
Absolutely.
at that point
Absolutely.
in time. Right.
And I know it's one of those problems that can sneak up on horse owners.
Right.
That's probably not one of the first things to come to mind. It would be, is my horse sweating properly?
Sure. And we need to check that. In other words, if we're riding with some other individuals, it's hot, it's humid, and their horses are sweating profusely, and ours is not, then that tells us that my horse may have a problem, and it needs a little help nutritionally to help overcome that particular situation.
Well, Mike, can you tell us a few signs that these horse owners can look for that their horse may have anhidrosis?
Well, that was one, if the group of horses that we're in are sweating and ours is not, and we're in the same conditions, then yes, that horse is likely to have a problem there. Or if that horse only sweats in certain areas, like under the saddle pad or underneath the mane of the horse and not the entire body of the horse, then we have problems with that horse as well.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times we have horses that will not sweat, period, at all. And if it's extremely hot and humid, that horse is going to be found in the shade somewhere trying to stay cool itself.
So they're trying to, if you're finding them a lot of times in the shade, trying to, not wanting to come out into the sun,
Right.
not wanting to work, doing those
Right.
type of things, they may have that problem.
Absolutely, right, sure. Yeah.
We did have someone ask, how long will the sweat restart continue without continued supplementation? Now that, I think she's asking how long before I guess they can stop supplementing with that. That's more of an ongoing supplementation.
It is.
correct?
In fact, the sweat formula could be fed on a daily basis if we chose to do that,
Mhm.
or it could be fed on a seasonal basis.
Absolutely.
Of course, when we think about seasonal, we would certainly want to feed it during the summer, hot, dry conditions until we got beyond that then. Okay?
And it also has to build up in the system. If you do choose to to stop it during a certain season, you really want to start feeding it, say in the spring, to build it up into the summer. So especially right now, if you have a horse having that problem, getting this into the system as fast as you can, because I know we will be, a lot of these states, the United States is experiencing heat wave right now.
Right.
That's only going to get worse as we get into August.
Right. Especially here.
Yeah, and of course this right here currently is only available in the United States.
Right.
This is a brand new product. But as far as United States, especially if you are in the Arizonas, the Floridas, Californias, those areas that might receive some of that just really hot, dry heat. That's
It's one option, for that horse that has that sweat issue, that sweat problem. Right.
Melissa would like to know, if my horse is just out in pasture and it's hot, but I only see a few areas he seems to be sweating, like chest and neck, would that be something to be concerned about?
Not necessarily, unless that horse is, as far as breathing heavily or whatever, or struggling to breathe. If you have normal breathing and we have a normal heart rate, a lot of times here in the South, you're going to see horses that are just out in the pasture. They're going to be sweating on these extremely humid days, and and it may be only around the shoulders and the neck that you're going to see that to happen. So that's really nothing uncommon or unusual.
Okay.
Right.
Kevin Brown adds, and West Texas. the heat wave areas that
Oh,
we need to pay attention.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right.
Again, guys, as we move on, feel free to drop any questions you have regarding anything. I'm really, I know right now we've been talking about the sweat formula, but if you had a question back about the flies or about any of the other products, please let us know. Mike, I'll let you.
Yeah, in fact, I think we're going to do question number 3 right now.
Okay, this is the last
This
live
is the last question.
question. This is for individuals, of course, in the United States. I wish we could include everybody, but with the certain international giveaway laws, we're just not capable of doing it. But this would be, let's push this back
Okay.
right over here. So again, this is for the farrier's finish, which we've talked about a little bit today for those dry hoofs. Hoof clay, which is great for, of course, the cracks, thrush, white line disease. The compose, a hat, and then a t-shirt, your choice in color. So we're going to ask this question. You'll have 2 minutes to answer it, and we'll go from there, and then we'll randomly pick one of the individuals who got it correct. So let me get my timer ready.
Okay.
Okay.
And the question is this: what is anhidrosis in a horse?
What is anhidrosis?
Right.
You have 2 minutes, and I think we've answered all of these.
Yeah. What is anhidrosis in horses? It is the inability to do what?
Then we have another question. It says, if it takes a while to build up sweat with the supplement, is there any problem also using other currently available sweat products to help until it kicks in?
That's a good question. In fact, I think we would need to take a look at what other sweat products would come into question and what's.
So if you'd like to feed in something else, like I said, just shoot us an email. You can email cservice@lifedatalabs.com, and they'll get in touch with Dr. Gravely and give you an answer on whether or not we need to be concerned or not.
In fact, oversupplementation can cause just as much of a problem as a deficiency in the horse.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we talk about oversupplementation, we're talking a lot of hoof issues can be caused from that.
Right.
Joint issues, just overall health problems. And speaking about supplementation and oversupplementation, we just got done talking about that working horse, that performance horse. And another product to think about, of course, that we have here in the United States is the double strength plus joint, which is this yellow bag right here. That's one problem a lot of times that we run into when you're trying to feed a hoof supplement and a joint supplement separately.
Sure.
Is you do run that risk of over supplementing
With sulfur.
with sulfur, right? So this right here, this is the combo product. It does the hoofs and the joint. I know it. If you're currently feeding farrier's formula and you've got a performance horse or a working horse, I know that as far as maintenance level, as far as prevention, we always encourage people to go to that joint product, because then you're getting the best of both worlds.
Right. You're going to increase the longevity and the usefulness of the horse. You're going to protect the joint plus the hoof as well. And if you do the math and take a look at the price of the product, you're going to find it's going to be a very economical versus a separate hoof and a joint supplement.
Absolutely.
Purchased separately. So
absolutely. Well, our timer is up, so let's look at Will.
Do we have a winner?
Yeah, the winner is Candace Parham.
Candace Parham.
Yeah.
Candace, congratulations. We're going to have you email cservice@lifedatalabs.com. In the subject line, you can just put live giveaway winner. We'll need your address. We'll need your t-shirt size. And then if you'd like to choose a colored t-shirt, again, we've got the dark green, we have the teal and the
Thing to consider when we think about summer and we think about heat and the humidity, and that's nutrition.
Time just a second. We went out for just a moment. I'm just going to repeat. The person who won is Candace Parham.
Candace Parham.
Parham.
Okay. Sorry, it looks like we froze there for a second. So Candace Parham, congratulations. Again, you'll email cservice@lifedatalabs.com with your shipping address, your t-shirt size, and so on. Again, I apologize about that. Our internet has been, I guess, blinking in and out,
Right.
which caused us to be late earlier today. So again, we apologize about that. We're working on it, trying to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Sure. And the final thing that I'd like to mention this afternoon, our time is quickly coming to an end here, but the benefits of nutrition, especially during the summer months, during the heat and during the humid conditions. And a lot of times we don't think about this, but the natural diet of a horse is what, Corbin?
Grass and hay.
It's grass and hay. So if we have a horse that's out on grass, that's grazing, as we get in, of course, during the spring of the year, a lot of times that grass is green and lush, and it was going to contain a lot of what the horse needs nutritionally. However, there is no grass or hay that will contain everything a horse needs nutritionally. I think we've stressed that over and over again. But then when we get into summer months and we get into some droughty conditions, then the quality of that forage, the quality of that grass goes the other direction. We begin to lose a lot of nutritional value at that point in time. So nutrition comes into play because that horse needs certain nutrients to grow, to maintain dermal tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And dermal tissue is the largest glandular organ in the horse itself. And when we talk about dermal tissue, we're talking about the foot of the horse, we're talking about the skin of the horse, we're talking about hair, we're talking about one aspect of the joint, cartilage, tendon, and ligament as well. So if our nutrition starts to diminish, then that's going to affect the overall health, well-being, hair coat, skin condition, and the hooves of the horse. Mm-hmm. And in a situation like that, we need to consider adding a forage or a hay balancer to the diet of the horse to meet those specific nutritional needs that are lacking at that point in time. Of course, we do have an option.
Absolutely.
Barn back, okay? Mm-hmm. Great vitamin, mineral supplement that's going to complement whatever hay or forage you're feeding your horse. Of course, one of the things that we always want to do is to feed a balanced diet. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. We always want to do that. We always want to maintain the proper body condition score in the horses as well. We don't want them to be overweight, and we certainly don't want them to be too thin as well. So what we're shooting for is a body condition score of about 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. Okay? And when we go back to dermal tissue, one of the things that we can do is to add a hoof supplement to the diet, okay? And one hoof supplement that has been around for many, many years now is Ferrous Formula.
Absolutely.
And this is the double strength version of Ferrous Formula itself. And what it's going to do is it's going to improve all the dermal tissue in the horse. Mm-hmm. And we don't often consider this fact here. So if it's going to improve the hoof, mm-hmm. if that hoof is dried out and cracking, then Ferrous Formula is going to be beneficial to the improvement of the foot mm-hmm. itself.
And of course, regrowing, growing out those hoof cracks and
right.
And so on.
In fact, those cracks cannot heal themselves. Mm-hmm. The horse has to regenerate new foot and grow that old crack out, just like you mentioned, Corbin.
And something else to mention, of course, if you're not in the United States, this is known as double concentrate.
Okay.
So,
in the international world.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And of course, another thing that Ferrous Formula is going to do as well, it's going to improve skin quality. Mm. So our horses out there that are sensitive to insect bites, to itching, mm-hmm. to scratching. If we got good, healthy skin, then we're going to lessen the likelihood of that happening. And Mr. Will, if you will go to slide number 5, I think we have a horse that has that particular issue there. Mm-hmm. A lot of times from skin quality itself. Mm-hmm. Also, we don't think about this as well, but if our horse doesn't have the ability to sweat, mm-hmm. then that skin's going to become dry and flaky and itchy as well.
Absolutely.
So that's another case for a hoof supplement and even the sweat formula in a
Absolutely.
situation like that, okay?
Absolutely.
And then the outward appearance of that horse is reflected in the hair coat and hair condition.
Mm-hmm.
And Farrier's formula is going to improve that situation as well.
Well, that's something I've always, kind of heard you say is, you can tell a lot nutritionally about a horse
Right.
from their coat condition and from their hoof condition.
That's right. In other words, if you've got a good, slick, shiny hair coat, 9 times out of 10, you can look at the feet of the horse, and they're going to be some good quality feet as well. Basically, the outside of the horse is a mirror image as to what's going on internally, okay? So that's the benefits of a hoof supplement there. We get hoof quality, skin quality, hair coat, hair condition. Now, why is hair condition important? A lot of these performance horses are show horses.
Absolutely.
They're going to the show ring.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's looked at, depending on what the discipline of the horse, is that hair coat, hair condition itself.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we also know that summer months can take a toll on hair coat and hair condition.
Mm-hmm.
So if we incorporate that hoof supplement, that's going to help maintain that softness, that luster, that shine that we're going to see there. And so we may have to make some other adjustments as far as the horse itself. We may have to monitor the amount of time that horse is actually outside in the sun and allow that horse to go out at night as well. Absolutely. In place of during the day. Okay?
Absolutely.
So, are there any questions at this point in time?
Well, if you guys have any last minute questions, throw them here and we'll try to answer them. In the meantime, let's talk about the grand prize giveaway.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet.
No, we have not. So we got the grand prize giveaway. So even if you're not watching this live, you still have the opportunity to win one of these. But the grand prize giveaway, we're giving away 1 bag of the joint, 1 bag of the sweat, and 1 bag of the double strength. So we'll have 3 winners, and each one will get one of these. So one person will get the joint, one person will get the double strength, and so on. So to win this, you'll need to go to lifedata.live/win. You can just throw that into your URL, and it's just a little, we'll ask, there's like one little question at the very beginning regarding your horse. You'll sign in using your name and email address. And then there's other things you can do to get additional entries. But the biggest one, of course, is the secret code. Mm-hmm. So since you're here today, since you have sat through and waited, and you've been with us, even though we were extremely late, we've got this secret code for you that will highly increase your chances to win. And that secret code is Summer Horse.
Summer Horse.
Summer Horse, all one word. That's the secret code. It actually gives you like 50 entries, 50 extra entries. Another thing that you can do to help your chances to win is to share the contest with a friend. There's a little share option on there. Every one of your friends who signs on to this gives you extra entries. So they have a chance to win, and then you have even more of a chance to win. So we'll actually draw the winner next Tuesday.
And announce the winner.
And to announce the winner, yep. That'll be next Tuesday here on Facebook Live at 2 o'clock Central Time. And again, this giveaway, unfortunately, is only for U.S. shipping address due to international laws. We can't do that and include international people. So go over to that link, fill out that form, and you'll basically get free product. So. Let me check real quick and see if we have any questions.
And as you think about the presentation, if you think of a question over the weekend or whatever, feel free to join us next Tuesday at 2, and please ask the question at that point in time if it's not answered today for you.
Well, Kaylee, she kind of has a question here: is why don't most vets include blood work and normal physicals to find nutritional deficiencies?
We're the only company. This is rather new. It's unique. Of course, Life Data Labs has always been a research-minded company from the get-go, and that's how Farrier's formula was developed some 40-plus years ago, was through blood work and research. And we do this blood work in-house.
Yes.
And Life Data Labs made the investment into the equipment and having the computer, whatever you want to call it,
Program.
program written, which was a long, drawn-out process to help with the correlation.
This is something that Dr. Gravely's been
Right.
working on since he came up with Farrier's formula. Basically, the technology has kind of just gotten to the point where we could do this. So I guess the answer is it's not readily available.
No.
It's something that's.
But we will say this: if you have a horse that has a unique problem, whether that's laminitis or white line disease or canker or anhidrosis or whatever, please contact us, and your horse can become a part of the research that's being done here at Life Data Labs. And we can send you the necessary items as far as collecting the blood, and then you can work with your local vet in getting that sample collected. It'll be sent back to us. There is no charge for what we do here. There's no charge on your part other than what your vet might charge you to do the collection part.
Absolutely. And then Sarah Rebecca says, so the double strength Farrier's formula is good for the skin as well.
Absolutely.
When we talk about the hoof, when we talk about the skin, that's all dermal tissue.
Right.
And so, Farrier's formula, of course we call it a hoof supplement, but it's really, I guess, a dermal tissue supplement.
It is.
It's going to, of course, help the hoof, the sole, and then you're talking about skin, hair coat, and even one aspect of the joint.
Right. Sure.
So it's even though of course your hoofs are going to see the benefit, but the entirety of the horse is going to see the benefits from feeding Farrier's formula. All right, let's see. Melissa says, I love these events. Thank you for doing them. You're welcome, Melissa.
Thank you for joining us.
We love doing them, and we thank
Sure.
you for joining us. Well, I guess that's about it for today. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. If we did not get to your question, please feel free to message us, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Sure, right. And we wish all the dads out there
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Absolutely,
Sure.
absolutely. Don't forget to join us Tuesday, and we'll draw these grand prize winners. So thank you again, and everybody have a nice weekend.
Thank you very much.